Hey, good morning. Coffee topic this morning. I was reaching out to some colleagues, pulling together some more material for standard work, next episode in the podcast. But I have a colleague, Alan, and Alan has shared something with me that I thought was interesting. I wanted to share with the rest of you. Now, if you recall, the root cause analysis videos and the training I'm putting together for those videos, we talk about drift and error traps. But first, identifying drift, being able to see drift. That is a deviation from standard work, deviation from what we would expect, how we would expect somebody to perform a job or a task or operate a machine or equipment. And being able to look for drift and spot drift. So when we were talking, I was talking to him about, hey, I'm putting some stuff together for standard work. Do you have any best practices, suggestions, examples that I can use? And he sent me a presentation that he worked on. He worked with me on the, we worked together on the root cause analysis, program at our current employer. But he has been a leader in this area for a while. And so, of course, I reached out to him, and he calls this. He dropped in our little chat here. He said drift busters are, that's the big thing he pushes with operations managers and stuff. So drift busters, like there's a requirement that they engage, per shift, per week, things like that. Each worker on their team should have one or more entries per month, and I'll explain all that in the episode. But I thought it was funny. He calls it drift busters, and he sets a standard for these operations managers at his facility. So I thought it was cool. I'd share that with you. It ties into the videos that we've been talking about on root cause analysis. So drift busters, thanks Alan for that. And I would ask the rest of you, what do you do along those lines? Make it fun, catchy, and very focused on what operations managers are supposed to do. And that's the key. If you recall the last podcast episode where I talked about setting expectations, it's got to be measurable, observable, these expectations. And so standard work is in line with that. So how we set up standard work, you have to establish standard work that is in fact measurable, right? So give me some examples, drop them in the comments below, and we'll get this conversation going. And I'll continue to put this material together and probably record by this evening the next episode in the Rethinking Safety Culture series. And you'll see how people say, I started with rethinking safety culture and getting into the right mindset, then set the right expectations for all of your leaders in the organization. And now we take these expectations and we add some context to them by spinning them into standard work. And that's where I always get people looking at me funny when they say, man, how do I build a safety culture? How do I improve safety culture? I'm like, well, just integrate safety into, the existing culture. But, are you requiring your managers and supervisors to do this stuff? Yes or no? And more often than not, they say no. And they're like, I can't get them to do anything. I'm like, well, that's because you're pulling the wrong lever. You need support. You need to start with that first episode that I dropped, and then the second one about setting expectations, and then of course this one about standard work. That's how you get there, folks. It's work every day. It's a grind. There's no magic bullet. There's no book you're going to read and go and close the book and go right out there and do a presentation, and all of a sudden you have a safety culture. It is drip by drip by drip every single day, grinding this out. And it's about the work. You cannot avoid it. So let me know what you think. Standard work, expectations that you have for your operations managers, leaders, supervisors. How do you measure that? How do you hold them accountable? Do you get buy-in from top leadership? Do they ask, not you, the safety professional, do senior leaders look at managers and supervisors and say, explain this metric to us. We don't understand why you're lagging in this safety metric or that safety metric. That is powerful. That drives culture, okay? Everyone expects a safety guy or gal to push safety. But when a senior leader is pushing it, that's powerful. Speaks to culture. Let me know what you think.